Hey guys, welcome to my sewing room. I'm Kelly and you found me here on Pick and Stitches, and today I'm going to be telling you all about my Juki sewing machine. I'm getting a lot of questions and I've had her for quite a while and I really do enjoy her, so I thought I would share some of why I picked this machine and what I love about it. So let's hop right on in. Okay, well, if you've been to my sewing room before, you have certainly seen this machine in action. This is the Juki QVP, the TL-18QVP. There are several of the TL lines, and there's a couple different features between them, but for the most part, these machines are going to be very, very similar. And I'm going to just kind of walk through the features and benefits that really turned me on to this machine and are the reason that I chose to use it. So if you look at the machine, there's a minimal amount of buttons, and that's because this is a semi-industrial machine. Juki made a lot of great industrial machines for a really long time, and so this is kind of the natural evolution, and honestly I couldn't be more happy with it. The machine itself is it's not heavy, it's only 25 pounds. It's heavy duty though, so it's made of cast aluminum. And it's just really robust. When you pick up, one of those plastic machines, you can feel the difference, but still, it's only 25 pounds. So if I go to a quilting class or a quilting retreat, I'm not going to hesitate to take this machine with me because it is really quite portable still. It has only a straight stitch. So if you are brand new to sewing and you're not quite sure what you're going to be using this machine for, then you need to consider if you're going to be doing some other things. You cannot do a zigzag stitch with this machine. You cannot do a blind hem with this machine. Anything that requires the needle to move from right to left isn't going to happen here. And so that's why I have that secondary machine that I use for any of those types of processes. But for the most part, what I do on my machine every single day is going to be on this one. I don't care if it's bag making, quilting, free motion quilting. Those are the things that I do the most of, and I do it always every day on this machine. So it's really pretty straightforward. You have your adjustment here for your stitch length, and it can go quite small all the way up to 6 millimeters. You have your needle up down. I love that button when you want to just lift your needle, because it's always going to stop in a needle down position, which is another great feature. It drives me gonzo when I sit at a machine and the needle stops in the up position and then my work moves because I moved my hands and I forgot. So you have your needle up down position. You've got this automatic cutter, so wherever it's at, it's going to cut the thread when you push that button. This is your reverse lever. It's quite large, so it is really easy to just reach over and push while your eyes are still on your area that you're sewing, and I really do like that a lot. Now this feature, I really didn't think I was going to need that much. This is the slow to fast feature. So basically this machine can sew anywhere from 200 stitches per minute to 1,500 stitches per minute, and so that variable is quite large. And while you might have a lot of control with your foot when you're driving your car, sometimes when you're sewing, you want to have a little bit more control than that. So you can set the upper limit. So if you don't want it to go, it's got a rabbit icon, fast like a rabbit, you could drop it halfway. So you would never, even if somebody jumped behind you and scared you, you would never push your foot down so far that it would just take off and your work would get wonky. I use this feature a lot between myself and my daughter. She doesn't want to sew as fast as I do, and she doesn't have the foot control, so this is nice that I can kind of slow it down for her. I also slow it down when I free motion quilt, because I find that if I keep it at full throttle, for me, I tend to move the fabric in a little bit more of a jerky fashion, and if I just go a little bit slower, my stitches are a lot more even and the shapes that I create look better to me. So I really do like this feature. I did not think it was going to be a feature that I was in love with, but I absolutely am. You've got your dual feed on your threads. So you could have one thread that was coming over here to wind as a bobbin and still leave this thread intact. I don't typically do that because it's easy enough to just switch it, but it is really nice to have this onboard bobbin winder. And I will give you guys a demonstration on how all of that works here in a minute. So you're also going to have, when you turn on your power, there's a light that comes on right here underneath. You can see the reflection on my hand. If you don't like that light for some reason, there is a button right back here that you can push and turn it off. So your machine there we go. Your machine is on. I still have power. I can still stitch, but that light's not going to interfere. So if you're filming, that might be interesting to you. There is a quick cut feature here on the side. So if you have chain piece two together, you can just pull it through there and that will give it a quick cut. You have a lot of adjustment here on how much your pressure foot is going to press down. So if you're sewing something that you need a lot of pressure to keep it together, you can increase that pressure with this knob. Now, one of the things that's unique, and that's this knob, sorry, it's visually it shows you here, but the knob is actually right here. One of the things that's unique about this QVP 18 is this knob. What that knob is going to do is actually raise where the presser foot sits. So right now I am fully flush against this plate. And if I twist this, in fact, I'll give you guys a better shot. I'll do that in a separate shot so you can see it a little bit better. But you can use this knob to raise and lower where that presser foot is going to sit. So if you're sewing something that's incredibly thick, it is never going to try to engage your presser foot as low as mine is resting right now. All of these are going to come with this extension table. For me, when I was shopping, I bought this in 2021. You know, price was an issue and it was super important, and I didn't want to buy a machine that needed a secondary tray because most of the time these are roughly $100, and you know, we have so many notions and so many things that we're trying to get to sew out or to fit out our sewing space that it is really nice that it does come with that. It's really easy to take on and off. It folds everything up. The other thing this machine comes with is the knee lifter. So you just slide it in. I have to pull my machine forward, it's too far in. You slide it into your grooves, and then when you want to lift the presser foot, if your hands are on the machine, instead of having to lift it and lower it from back here, you can just use your leg to raise and lower that presser foot. So that's really nice if you're doing something that requires you to keep your hands on your work. It hasn't been a feature that I've used a ton, but there have been a couple instances in some bag making and stuff that it was nice to have that. The other thing that really pushed me to this machine was the ease at dropping the feed dogs. So I wanted a machine that I could do all of my piecing on, all of my quilting on, and also my free motion quilting on. And so it is that easy to drop your feed dogs, and it is that easy to remove your presser foot. Now finding my free motion quilting foot might be a little harder. And it came with several different presser feet, but it had two quilting ones. This is the open toe. There's a closed toe as well. That's it. I'm ready to free motion quilt right now, given that I have the right thread in the bobbin and in the top. That's how fast it is to change over from what you were doing with the quilt to the actual quilting itself. So this machine does come with several different feet. I tend to kind of use a free motion foot and the 1/4 inch the most, but there's also compensating feet. There are some additional binding things that you can screw in and attach here so that it will kind of control your fabric. And the QV18 also has this upgraded plate so that if you use this feature a lot and if you wear this part out, it's really easy to change out. Some of the other TL models, it's harder to change out. So if you find that you're using this plate a lot, you might consider the TL18 above some of the other TLs. So all of the TL series are going to come with the same foot pedal. And what's fun and unique about these is you've got your forward motion that's going to go. But if you rest your heel on the bottom of it, you can hear it. It kind of does a secondary press back here. So this is set on this QVP to cut your thread. So you don't actually have to use the cut thread button. You can use your heel and just keep moving. And then for those people who don't like that function, this fits on the bottom of your presser foot and it keeps it from engaging that heel function. So if you find that, okay, I thought I was going to love the heel function, this is a way to solve that if you want to turn it off so that it doesn't cut your threads. So I think that that is really smart. It definitely gives a lot of versatility and makes it really easy. First, I just want to show you how very easy it is to change a needle. And I use my standard 80-20, I'm talking about batting, 80-12 needles. And these are pretty standard in the sewing world. And all you're going to do is use this screwdriver, just makes it easy. You certainly don't have to have it. You're just going to loosen that up and drop your needle out. And then I keep all of my needles in a little sharps container just so I don't end up pricking myself. It's just an old canning jar that I keep in the sewing room. It's got broken pins, old needles, and then when I get enough of them, then I'll throw them away in an appropriate container. Okay, so you want to push the needle all the way inside. So definitely make sure you've got this screw over here loose enough. Then you're going to push it as far as it will go. So it should be, you know, an inch or an inch and a half above your plate. And then you'll go ahead and tighten it down with your screwdriver. I always like to use my knob on the side of the machine to make sure that it moves freely, because I can control the speed and make sure that I didn't install it improperly. So once I've gotten all that done, I know I'm in a good spot. I'm going to go ahead and use the up-down function button on my machine. So now I just want to show you how I rethread these machines. Right now I've got a Glide 50 cotton that I like to piece with, and when it's time to change to free motion quilting, I might want to use a poly or something different. So you always want to snip your thread so that you can pull out the rest of it. I'm unthreaded it from the needle, and I'm going to pull it through my tension disc here the correct way. I don't ever want to pull that thread backwards through the system because it's just not set up to work that way. So then I'm going to switch my thread. This is a Glide 60 that I've been using a lot. I really like it. It's a poly thread. I know all of us people who grew up only using Aurifil, I'm starting to really like the polys a lot. I love my Aurifil, but it's kind of pricey. And so then I tried this Glide cotton, which I actually like quite a lot. It is the closest thing I have found to an Aurifil in quality. It feels slightly different to my fingertips, but when I'm sewing it, it sews out beautifully, just like my Aurifil does. Okay, so I just threaded that without telling you guys anything about what I was doing. So we'll do that again. It's going to thread a lot like an industrial machine. So we start with our thread spool, then it pulls it up to there, and then we're going to pull it down. It's going to come through these two loops. So you go in, and it depends on the size of your thread and if you feel like things are slipping, but pretty standard. I'm going to go down through this first one and then loop it and go down through the last one, just so it kind of cycles through there. Then I'm going to get it inside of this tension wheel, and you're going to hold it like you would, almost like you're going to floss some teeth. So you're pulling in there, you're pushing tension, and you've got it seated all the way to the bottom of that channel. And then we're going to pull it through here and do the same thing. So now I'm in this tension. I'm going to come up and around this little paper clip looking contraption that is kind of flexible and moves. And then we're going to come under, over. You guys are probably pretty versed in that, like a typical sewing machine. And then we're back down to our threading component. I don't always use this threader because honestly it is pretty easy to thread, especially with some of these lighter weights. But I'm always going to test and make sure that I can drop my needle, bring it all the way back up so I have it fully extended. Then I've got it through this last little one that kind of could be easy to skip. And then I'm going to get it hooked there. And then it comes through this white corner as well. And then I'm going to try to get my hand out of your way, but I'm not doing it. And then you just slowly release it, and it's going to pull your thread through. And then we've got it pulled through here, and then you'll just feed the rest of your thread through. I had too long a tail. And then you are all set and ready to sew. So now we've changed our needle, we have changed our thread, And the other thing that you might want to know about is the bobbin. So unlike a lot of our top loads, this one is actually a side load bobbin. So you're going to get out into it from here. To use these swabs, you can get them, I'll put a link in the description, but they're really good at getting in here and getting kind of all these fuzz balls out. If you ask anybody who works on machine, the #1 problem that they'll probably tell you is that people don't clean out their machine enough, and they get lint stuck in all kinds of places, and it gets continually compact over time, and it just gets harder and harder to deal with until your machine can't function around it. So that is our quick clean out. I definitely recommend that you do something more thorough every couple of months, or depending on how much you use it or how much cotton thread you use. But I try to do that every 5th bobbin change. So what I do is I load up 5 bobbins, and then when I get to the end of that, it just means that it's time for me to change my needle and to make sure that my bobbin casing area is clean. So since this is a side mount, it is a little bit different when you're installing it. You put your bobbin in the case just like we always have, even with our older units. So you're going to have your bobbin thread hanging like the shape of a 9. So it's coming this way and around, and then I'm going to put my case over it. And once I have my case over it, I'm going to grab that tail and I'm going to pull it through the groove until it gets into this hole and it's coming out. And then a quick test, if you don't have one of the nifty bobbin tools that will tell you the exact rate, is if you pick it up. If you pick it up, you actually don't want it to dangle in the air like this one is right now. This one's a little bit tight, so I need to loosen this just a hair so that as I leave it in my hand, it just starts to pull out. So it's pulling out the thread if I lift up. That's what you want your tension to be at most of the time. Then this little groove is where I like to stick my thumb, and my thumb is going to point up, and I'm just going to place it in here until I feel it click. You hear that? If you don't hear that click, your bobbin is not all the way in, and if you start to use your machine, you will break a needle and it will scare the dickens out of you. So know that. Okay, so that is kind of the basics on the sewing. Okay guys, and to wind a bobbin, it is super easy. Again, I'm going to cut my thread, and you just loop it around this guy. Now, if you look at the bobbin itself, there is a notch on this side. And if you look at this pin, there is a notch on this. It does not pop into place, but you do want it to be in place, because if you don't, it will start to spin up, and then it doesn't actually spin your bobbin. You'll just hear the motor go. So you just want to turn it until you feel it click on. Well, I mean, it doesn't click on. Can't see around the camera. So you just want to line that groove up, and as it's on, now it's turning on that end of it, and you'll lock it in, and you watch, the needle will go down once and then it will stay down, and then it spins up. And then we've got a wound bobbin. So like I said, I usually come through and just do 5 at a time. And then when those 5 bobbins are gone, I know it's time to change that needle again, clean my bobbin area really well, and then we're off to the races. Let me just show you what happens if you don't get it on that notch, because it's still, like, if you set it on there wrong, it will still engage this. It almost feels like it's rubbing a little bit, and then as I push the pedal, the needle's still going to go down, but then it just makes the noise and nothing spins. So if you're getting that, it's because you did not get the bobbin lined up with that little groove. And again, it doesn't really snap on. It just fits right in that hole. And then it can spin your bobbin. Okay, so now we're just going to load that bobbin back up. You can take this entire plate away. I find if I just open both the doors, I have enough room to get my hand in there. And I'm going to use my thumb to hold that spot and keep it up, and then I press it in, and you hear that snap, so you know you're in there well. And again, it's always a good idea just to go needle up and down, make sure that nothing's going on wrong there. Part of why we love it. It just gives you really nice, even stitching if you're sewing slow or quickly. It's just very, very consistent. And as you can see, I had that long tail on the front and on the back. Look at that. There is no rat's nest, bird's nest, whatever you call it. I don't know why I get all my animals wrong in the sewing room, but I sure do. I love that feature about this machine, and I didn't realize it even when I bought it. But the cutter on this one is so short, it makes it nice and tight on the back. I feel like this machine doesn't nest them up as badly as some of the other ones that I've worked on. We started in the middle of the row and it didn't create a nest at all. Let's see what it does when we backstitch. So I'm in the middle, 1, 2, back 2, now forward, and off the face. So from the front, it looks great. From the back, it's pulled through there once, but I can absolutely live with that. Here's a view of a top loading cutter and how much excess there was always on the back there. I don't even think I could pick those out. They just make me crazy when I sew on the other machine. We've got the bread and butter that everybody loves about this machine, sewing denim. I don't actually sew denim. I sew canvas, I sew handbags, I sew rope, I sew the handles to bags, but I have not done just a ton with denim. So this is really just for demonstration purposes. This is set up as 2 layers. Let's see how we do. Well, that didn't even seem to be a challenge. Let's add 2 more. So this is 4. Yep, no worries there. Can we do 8? Now this is really thick, so this would be a great application to use that presser foot. So I'm going to use this knob, and you're going to be able to watch the presser foot not be as engaged as it is right now. See how it's lifting up off of my board already? So that's about as far up as it can go. See how that toe is lifted up there? And when I go the other way, it all settles down and is a lot tighter. So I'm going to go ahead and lift that up because this is a really thick segment. And I'm going to lower some of the pressure there, and let's just roll through it. Now I'm going to start with it actually all the way under my presser foot and give it a couple stitches before we just go hard. Well, that doesn't even hesitate. That was 8 layers, guys. So I can't even see the stitching though. I can feel it. It's definitely there. This is the 50 weight cotton. So that's a pretty thick section to be working with. I've seen people go as high as 12. Let's see. I don't even know if I have that much left because I don't sew with this. I actually stole some of my daughter's old jeans today and cut them up. Don't tell her. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so I have 8 layers of denim here, and I'm going to fold this one in half. So now we're at 10. And I think the 10 is the max of what I'm willing to do because I don't ever do anything this thick. All right, here we go. That was not quite pedal to the metal because I don't want to break my machine. but it didn't even hesitate, you guys. I am pretty impressed with it. It has done everything, canvas bags. I use webbing on all of our handles, and I haven't ever had an issue with it. So all in all, this machine is really just a workhorse. If you're going to be doing a ton of straight line stitching, I could not recommend it more. And if you're going to be doing other things like zigzags or blind hems, you probably need to consider a different machine. But I absolutely love this machine. It makes me super sad whenever I have to take it in to be serviced. All of the things. So another thing about this machine is that it does have oil requirements. A lot of the home machines don't need oil, but these are really pretty simple. I like to use these quick, easy oil pens. This isn't my favorite one, but it's the one that's full right now. So there are a couple of places on the top of the machine that you're going to want to oil. And for me, I always kind of got confused. I'd have to look at it. That's a screw. I don't want to put oil in the screw. There's some other holes back here that we're not going to use. So what I did was I just took a piece of washi tape and I put it next to all the holes on the top that I want to place oil in. So I'm just going to do 1 drop in each hole. Oops. Because I oil my machine kind of frequently. I use it every single day, and I want to make sure that it stays in really good repair, but I don't want to over oil it. And my understanding is that there's a lot of electronics or pieces up here that you don't want to get oil on that maybe have to do with the light. I'm not sure. But anyways, I know you don't want to over oil it, but you certainly have to oil it. Now here on the bottom, I know that these two are the only holes, and that's where my oil is going to go. So it's really quick and easy. It's not a big deal. If you get one of these pens, it lasts forever. I have a refillable one that I really like. I just haven't refilled it. So that is pretty much it on this machine. I've really enjoyed having it. Again, I've had it since 2021. I have put a ton of miles on it. I use it for everything. Up until about 2 months ago, I even used it for all of my quilts. So there's a lot of versatility in this machine. Okay guys, so if you've watched my channel very much, you know that I sew on this machine every day. I love this machine. The reason I landed on it was I felt like for the price, it was gonna get a lot done. It didn't feel like a lightweight, easily broken machine, and for me, it has been a power horse. I use it all the time for heavy lifting, and I could not be happier with it. It's built with a solid aluminum die-cast frame, so it just feels really robust, but it's only 25 pounds. So if you need to take it somewhere, you absolutely can. It is manageable and portable. I wanted something that I could do my piecing on and something that I could also do my free motion quilting on, and it definitely checks the box. Your throat space here is 8.5, and I have put darn near a king size quilt through it for free motion quilting. I wasn't doing anything custom. I was just doing it all over meander, but honestly, for this kind of throat space, I was really pleased with it. So you have a 6-inch height and an 8.5-inch throat space, and that's going to be true on any of the TLs. The stitch quality is really great. That lock stitch feature really makes your stitching beautifully and consistent, and you can change your length from 0 all the way up to a 6, which is quite long. That would probably be more of a basting stitch. Having a machine that didn't need a ton of servicing was really important. Anytime you have a computerized machine, if something goes wrong, you're probably going to need to take it to the shop. With this guy, I have had a very few times, other than just routine maintenance, that I was going to take it to the shop. And speaking of shops, I highly recommend that if you have a local dealer that you like and trust, do business with them. That is the absolute best way to get the solid service that you're going to want on your machine. But if you don't, I highly recommend Juki Junkies. They seem to kind of be on the forefront of all the people with posting information, with knowing information. Every time I have ever called their shop with a random question, you know, they chase it down. If the person answering the phone doesn't know, they get me someone who does. And the customer service from them has been absolutely outstanding. There's a couple of businesses that I really feel like are phenomenal at standing behind their products, and that is something that is incredibly important to me. It's also a small business, and we all like to support small businesses when we can. So I'll go ahead and put a couple affiliate links in the description. If you're not familiar with that, it's just an additional way for you to support the channel. Basically, you don't pay anything different. I just get paid a small commission, and these are all companies that I would already be doing business with regardless. So I appreciate the support. If you use that link and you purchase the machine, they'll even put a special little surprise in your box for you. So if you have any other questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them, or you could go look on the Juki Junkie website or give them a call and just tell them I sent you, because they are phenomenal. And this may not be the exact right machine for you, but I guarantee you that they could help you figure out what is the right fit for you. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this answered some questions. If you have more, post them in the comment below. I am more than happy to share anything that I do know or point you in a direction if I don't know the answer, and I can get you to a pro that does. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely like and subscribe. That helps me out so much. And until then, I will see you guys next time.